Hi, welcome to the webinar, Reimagine Work and Project Management with a Modern Collaboration Tool Set. Here's our copyright statement, and we'll move on by there. This will be recorded and disseminated. A little bit about Innovative E. So what we do is we transform work and project management into a competitive advantage with cloud-based modern collaboration tool set that engages everyone in your core objectives. I'm Mike Taylor, the one on the right, and presenting with me today is Brian Quick.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar.
All right. So a little bit about Innovative E. We've been around for quite a while, over 20 years now. We've had 13 years and plus now as a Microsoft Gold Partner Plus with that competency, multiple competencies. Kind of started out more in the SharePoint and the collaboration space, which is kind of interesting because we've kind of come full circle. We've done a long ride in the project portfolio management space and still continue to be a leader in that area. As you see, we've had several awards from Microsoft there, including the 2020 MS US Partner of the Year and a couple finalists in the worldwide there. So what we really do is we focus on these work and project management solutions. We've had thousands of customer engagements over hundreds of customers over the years. And these solutions are based on the M365 and Power Platform, which is the modern platform for Microsoft. And we have a very diverse industry experience from healthcare, government, that would include state and local, federal government, retail, consumer products, everything from consumer products and commodity and consumer brands to distribution, financial services, manufacturing, education, at multiple levels of education as well. And you can see kind of some of the icons of the key technologies we work with, the Teams and Project and the Power Platform, and SharePoint and Power BI, and all those kinds of things are really the core set of tools that we're working with as we deliver products and services to our customers. So as always, when we do a webinar, we put a box in there to have people be able to provide input on what they would like to see today. And we got a lot of feedback. There's a few of the questions that are a few of the answers to what people would like to see. And it's pretty much around how to use Teams for project management, optimizing project management, Teams options, collaboration, integration, utilizing Teams. So we're going to hit on a lot of those themes. If there's anything we don't hit during this, we have all of our contact information. We'd love to talk to you guys and figure out, did we hit all the points? Did any questions you still need answered? Is there anything we can do to kind of take your journey a little further along? The one I love at the bottom there is something that I hadn't considered prior, so not sure what that might be, but hopefully we'll get there today. So starting with some customer results. So this is a case study that was published late in 2021. Microsoft actually supported this. The customer actually wanted to do it. They asked us if we could do a case study with them, and it was, I think, a very successful implementation. And Brian, this was a customer we've actually been engaged with for a couple of years. We started in kind of the more traditional role of project online type situation, right? And then it kind of evolved into something more.
Yeah, that's right. So they were looking for something that could be adopted more universally throughout the university, and it had to be really easy to use, and it had to be very collaborative. So we were able to work with them to enhance project with Power Platform, and that's was really the first use case as far as our customer base is concerned of our Teams for PM product. So it was a very pivotal case study for us, and it's a very good story. So it's out there on the Microsoft website. It's also at innovative-e.com/client success if you want to take a look at that.
Yeah, and as the quote from Kurt there, the main sponsor there at the customer says, they were really able to pull everything into one system, and that was the power of the Power Platform and the visualizations that could be done. And then even further from that, it's still, we said it started with a Project Online type of thing. It continues to use Project Online, enhanced it, and made it better. So there's actually, once they kind of go from their ideation into deciding what they want to do, there's a provisioning aspect where they can hit it and it creates the project. And again, there's a lot in the case study, but the quote is not on the screen there that I love that is in the case study somewhere, is where Kurt said, a bunch of magic happens here. So it was great. we're really reimagining project management, right, Brian? I mean, this is the same statement that was a few slides further up, but looking at transforming project and work management in a way that can be a competitive advantage, which is almost, some people would say, really? I mean, it's, kind of traditionally project and work management, whether it's a PPM system like Microsoft Project Online or some of the other competitive products that are out there, or a work management system or dev management system, like a Jira or something like that. They've always been kind of considered a necessary evil, right? Of we've got to track this stuff, because if we don't, we won't have the results that we need, or we won't know during the course, are we on track, or do you need to make course corrections? But it's never really been seen as strategic, right, Brian?
That's right. And so transforming that into a competitive advantage means that the project and the work that you're doing is actually differentiating you, and the way that you're executing it, and how that you're, and the tools that you're using to do that is actually a differentiator for you against your competition, or a way that enhances your company's ability to compete.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of that is what we say right in there, is that it engages everyone in working towards your core objectives. And that's always been a challenge with project management and work management systems, is the collaboration component kind of comes as an afterthought, and it's part of a, usually a self-contained system that's way down the process. And the case study that was there a minute ago, we talked about, they start at the ideation and the kind of the working on what are the visionary projects and things they want to work on. That traditionally never, that communication and that set of people and tools traditionally never follows the life cycle all the way down to the implementation tool.
We feel that traditional enterprise project management tools have not focused on collaboration the way that they should have, and I think it's really the evolution of where these platforms have come recently, which has given us the opportunity to say, shouldn't we be doing collaboration first and then doing project management in a collaborative setting, because it's all about getting work done.
Yep, absolutely.
So some of the challenges that you guys are all having, and that we've seen and we've echoed here from our customer base as well as in the market is, and these might sound familiar, collaboration is happening in real time, but the project and work management that governs it stands apart from the actual work that is taking place. And that's really a statement that, these project portfolio management systems, or the project schedule that your PM is working, is a digital representation of the actual work that's happening. It isn't itself the actual work. And the actual work and collaboration is happening elsewhere. Formal project and work management roles address critical issues, but tool sets are outdated and overly complex, and they're not inclusive, as we stated earlier. So most of the project team is not using your project management tool, and it may be that your project management tool is basically a reporting mechanism. And so that's because that barrier of entry to those tools has been complicated by licensing and usability. And no matter the methodologies being used, non-traditional roles are managing significant work and making decisions without full access to PM tools and information. And this is a realization I think that we've all had in the last several years, that formal project management is one thing, and your PMs and your project management office may have a tool set that works for them, but others in the organization are just trying to get work done. And a lot of that work, I think you have a statistic, Mike, that you would share about how much of that work is actually projectized.
Yeah, and actually there was a study done, I believe it was Gartner, and this is 5 or 6 years ago. I read it, so I don't know the exact numbers. I recall, but of the information workers that are out there doing work, a lot of the work has been quasi-automated or operationalized. So if you're thinking about things that are like your ERP, your inventory management, those kind of things, that operational work is things that information workers are working on, and but it's, there's applications and ways to go manage that. A big chunk of the work falls outside of that, though, and it's
Right.
somewhere between 60 and 70%. So 60 to 70% of the work that people are doing, if it's not operationalized work, if they're an information worker, then almost by definition, it's some form of type of project or work
Right.
package that has a beginning and an end. So it can be something that AR working on a new onboarding system or process. It can be, the folks that are in in marketing, working on new campaigns. It can
Mm-hmm.
be R&D folks that are conceptualizing and working on things that aren't necessarily a project yet, but it can be work that's going on around gathering information. I mean, a limitless amount of things that are out there. But as you said, a large part of that work that's going on is not even in any kind of standardized tool so there's no visibility into there's no visibility into it.
Right. And they're using tools, Mike, that are not really good for project management, for keeping track of work that needs to happen in sequence in order to get the job done on time and on budget and on scope. So they're using tools that are not for project management because that's all they can get their hands on.
Yep, absolutely.
And so we want to empower your project managers, even these citizen project managers, these folks in your organization that are maybe managing people and therefore managing projects, to centralize project and work management, keep your company efforts and information consolidated, and do that on your productivity platform because it's a natural evolution of productivity to do project type work. To modernize cloud-based collaboration and empower everyone with project management functionality organization-wide, and drive decisions from valuable insights, optimize business decisions across your organization with real-time insights.
Yeah, so that speaks to that point we made a minute ago, right? If you now have data where you can see it, you can drive decisions from that data that is now available, that data that becomes information, which is now actionable.
Yeah, and we talk about like empowerment, and this is different from the way we used to talk about it. Empowerment, several years ago, with a project portfolio management discussion, was just, get everybody access to it.
Right.
But empowerment now, and pay for the license for everybody. Well,
Right.
That may or may not have worked in a lot of organizations, and to a lot of folks, that was a challenging business case to put together. And now what we're saying is that with the new tools that are coming out, for example, with Microsoft Project for the web, what they're doing now is they're allowing access to for team members to update tasks without any particular project management system license.
Yeah, and that's huge. That shows that we've talked about this before, Brian. That those communications, those conversations with customers over the years were tough conversations because a lot of customers said we do want people that may have been at the ideation phase and the business case phase, and these stakeholders, we want them to be involved in the project, but we don't want to have to license them within this standardized kind of PPM or work management system or whatever it is. And so there was always challenges around that because it was a broad number of people. We've had organizations say, look, we're 200,000 people. We're not going to buy 200,000 licenses for this. So what you said right there was actually a reflection of something Microsoft has done recently with things like Project for the Web, where you no longer have to have a license just to do an update. Only license you have to have is an Office license, which if you're already a Microsoft customer, you already have. So yeah, the project manager would have to have a license to go create the project plan and assign you to a task, but then for anyone in the organization can update it, and that's actually a huge paradigm shift in empowering everyone to be involved.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually very climactic. It could change a lot for a lot of people. The driving decisions from valuable insights. Basically, once your data is basically consolidated in one place, then you can do that. If your data is elsewhere, if it's on another maybe cloud-based work management system or several, if it's in Excel, then you can't gain insight from that data without undue effort. Try to pull things together. You're trying to export data and you're trying to create like a manual report. Well, that's time consuming and it's busy work. So what we're going to try to do here is talk to you about when you consolidate your data on this platform, then your data is centralized and therefore reportable.
Right, absolutely.
So 5 signs that you need to transform, and so we'll go through number one. Number one reason you might need to transform your project and work management. Your project information is spread among disparate legacy systems. Number 2, you're wasting time on tedious, repetitive tasks. Number 3.
I'm sorry, Brian. I just want to pause on that one for a second because it goes back to what you had in transforming the project managers. There was another study, I think this was Gartner as well, that talked about, well, IDC and Forrester have also done similar studies that said the role of the project manager will be changing. And by the year, somewhere around, I think it's 2030, around 80% of the traditional task that project and work managers do now, which is this exact thing, number two, which is chasing data, which is tedious, repetitive tasks, putting it in spreadsheets, aggregating things from different places. 80% of that work is going to be eliminated through automation. And this is really, so if there's nothing else that people take away from this, what we're talking about here is a first step in that direction of minimizing the work effort, not just for the project managers, but for everyone, and moving towards a more automated way that creates much more robust data and information. And it will be a competitive advantage for those who embrace it.
Right, because they're not spending all that time doing all that other stuff, and they're able to use their time more wisely on more meaningful strategic efforts.
Yeah.
You want to work more efficiently, and you want to do that from the cloud. And the hybrid workforce is something that is worth mentioning here as well, because a lot of folks are no longer working in a common work area, and they're working from home. And having cloud systems and having your data centralized in cloud systems is becoming more and more important. You need complete visibility to help drive decisions, and you're not getting that if your data is disparate. That dashboard, that report that you're looking for, even if you're an executive and you're saying, okay, well, I have my report, my people put my report together for me and they deliver it to me every Thursday. Do you have any idea how much time your people are spending putting that on your desk? Are you sure that there are systems in place that automate that, or are people basically spending hours and hours every week putting those KPIs together for you and making them graphic and putting that into a nice report? Do you think that that's automated, or do you think it's maybe manual? Because if it's manual, there are hours and hours of work going into that.
And it's not just the time. The time is a big. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's not just the time that goes into it. It's also how if it's not automated, like you said, Brian, is it accurate? Because how much of the data are you pulling together that may be old, or is it now, as you're doing the aggregation and being hand rolled, is it being subject to human error to put it together?
Right.
So the accuracy of the data and the time, and the timeliness of the data, all of those things come to play there.
Yeah, and let's kind of bring that full circle back to that project management systems are a representation of the data, and to the degree that we can increase the proximity between the actual work that's going on and the data that's being represented, then it's going to be more accurate and more meaningful. So what we're saying is that even if you have a project management system, is that a representation of the actual work that's going on, or is that just someone going in and saying that it's red, yellow, and green? How much subjectivity is going into that? And are people painting a rosy picture because every week they just don't want to be on the naughty list?
Exactly.
Your work is managed inefficiently with disconnected tools. So if you're having conversations like integration conversations, or if you're having conversations about, this department uses one system, one cloud-based project management works management system, and this department uses another, and this department uses another one, and you're having conversations that are causing you to think about, am I in a situation where my data is never going to be consolidated? It's never going to be connected? Then you need to transform.
Absolutely.
So we want to consolidate your project and work management tool sets in the cloud and remove outdated and overly complex technology to unlock your organization's full potential with a modern Teams-centric project and work management tool set. And that Teams-centric there, that we're talking about Microsoft Teams. We're talking about that as the place where people are collaborating, most likely these days, as long as, especially particularly with the work from home scenario. And if you're on a Microsoft platform, you're either thinking about using Teams, or you're using some aspects, or you drank the Kool-Aid. That's where the collaboration is happening or will happen. And we're talking about that. We're talking about putting project management and work management experiences into Teams. Bring PM functionality into the Microsoft productivity environment that people work in every day, and stop context switching. So this concept, Mike, of context switching, I need to do this over here, and I need to go over here to do this. We need to stop doing that as much as possible. It's not going to ever completely go away, maybe, but to the extent that we can stay in the collaboration platform, in the collaboration solution, and do the project management there, that's going to eliminate one more context switch that usually happens throughout your day.
And it's all areas of since the people who are embracing Teams are going to be there for their unified communications. So like this meeting's being recorded on Teams. We do all of our meetings on Teams, all our document management. So everything can be in one location, so that it is really central and it is your work management hub.
Yep. So I already mentioned this, reduce the distance between your project and work management and the work that's being done. Kind of a cool concept there. And it's something that we'll talk more about. Empowering everyone with improved project management capabilities by making them universally available. So we're talking about, I've always been a big proponent of team participation in the project management data, in the project management tool set. That hasn't always been as easy as it could have been. But really, the more your team is involved in things like risk management and issue management and change management in the tool set, the better, because your team are the people that actually get the work done. Your plan can be the best plan in the whole wide world and look great on paper, but it's your team that needs to execute on those things, and we need to give them tools that they're comfortable using and that they're going to basically embrace every day. And by pulling it into familiar context systems that they're already using on an everyday basis, it just lowers that barrier to adoption.
Right. And as you said, the hybrid workforce and work style is here to stay. And so, there'll be much less sitting in conference rooms on a regular basis, going through project status meetings and aggregating information and everything else, and a lot more doing it through these tools and collaborative capabilities of things like Microsoft Teams.
Right. So access to valuable knowledge and insight from project and work management is the outcome in order to make informed decisions that advance your business. Surfacing your best ideas, your most valuable insights, and your strongest work that's going on throughout your organization. So we talk about how Microsoft Teams is really where we want to do all this project and work management. Why do we want to do it there? Well, take a look at these statistics. Microsoft Teams is celebrating 2 years of continued growth, and we call it hockey stick growth sometimes when you see a graph like that. 91%. That's 91 out of 100 Fortune 100 companies are using Teams, more than 500,000 organizations. And over 150 organizations have 10,000 or more active users. So there's an entire community out there. These are people that are doing project-related work, whether that's in their title or not, and they're using Teams on an everyday basis. That's where we're going to meet them. So this just came out the other day, Mike. Take a look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant for Unified Communications as a Service and Meeting Solutions. So take a look at Microsoft up there in the leadership quadrant. And a lot of folks, of course, look at Gartner to say, am I doing the right things? Am I looking in the right places? Am I on the right systems? Of course, we knew this was happening, but this was also very validating. So taking project and work management into the team space just makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, this, their place in the Magic Quadrant over the last couple of years has just shot up and to the right. And unfortunately, the pandemic had a lot to do with that, with the change in work style, but it accelerated the cloud transformation journey that a lot of customers are on. So, and Microsoft is one of the, if not the top standard for desktop and overall productivity, as you mentioned before.
Yeah. So we want to do project management in teams. And when you talk to people in your organization about it and you say, well, I think we need a new project management system. I think we're going to use Teams. They're probably going to say, what are you talking about? Like Teams doesn't do project management. Well, we can make it do project management, and we'd love to talk to you about that. That's what this webinar is about, because your users are already there. Projects are about getting work done, and Teams is a huge collaboration space. The new project management tools that we're using within Teams are built to put collaboration first and embrace those casual project managers in your organization. And at the same time, your IT systems managers and administrators can rest assured that your data is not on whatever flavor of the day work management system that your department decides to run a credit card and use. So we're reducing that shadow IT solutions and disparate data. And by the way, it's not your fault that some departments in your organization or your department is using a consumer grade work management system, and you're just trying to get work done. We get it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to help you get that done. We're also going to, in the process of doing that, centralize your data on a secure platform that you're already on terms and conditions with a vendor that you trust, and a compliant cloud that you can report on centrally. And get insights into your data. So you can have your cake and eat it too, as they say. You can use a next gen project management solution that people love to use, and it's integrated into their daily work. And you can do that on the Microsoft platform. Don't those people look happy, Mike?
They do. They look very happy. They're using Teams for project management.
Yeah. So what does it look like? So this is a screenshot of using a project for the web, which is Microsoft's next gen new project management tool within Teams. And you see I have a Teams construct here. I've got a channel. I've got different tabs in my channel, and I've got project for the web in that tab. So it's real-time co-authoring. It has a copy project or a templated copy project feature. It has a threaded discussion and resource assignment.
Yeah.
It also, yeah, go ahead.
And for those who haven't tried co-authoring in things like Microsoft Word, you should give it a shot. It's really, the way we have thought about it is it's almost like a time machine. It shortens the duration to get work done because you can have multiple people working on it at the same time. So there's not me sitting there working on a document and sending it over to Brian, or working on a project plan and sending it over to Brian and waiting for him to update it and send it back, or put it back in the file repository. Then I review it again. We can both do it at the same time and then say, how does it look? We jump on a Teams meeting and go, hey, that looks great. Good to go. And it literally compresses time. So it literally compresses time. It's amazing.
Like a time machine. So looking at the screen, you can actually see the tasks be edited and be accomplished. You can see the Kanban cards moving to the next bucket right before your eyes when there's another person making those changes and edits. Did somebody say Kanban boards? Yep. So work in progress is something that Project for the Web excels at. So you have your not started in progress completed. Your folks can be in their daily stand-up meeting and they can move the cards along. This is not something that Project traditionally or Project Online ever had. So using Project for the Web and doing that in Teams, done. You've got go ahead.
And it's really cool because you've got the little screen there at the top. You can just switch between the views. You can switch between a timeline view for more traditionally referred to as like a Gantt chart. Switch over to the task view, or you can switch right there to the Kanban view, and it's all just one button. It's really cool.
Yep. So yeah, you see, there's two views in front of you right here. You got your Kanban, you got your Gantt chart view. So it's not one or the other. And I know there's some tools out there that you basically have to pick at the beginning. Is this going to be a Gantt chart project, or is this going to be a Kanban board project? Well, they're just tasks, and
Mm-hmm.
when you move them around, they just reflect in all three different views: grid, board, and timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But you see that trickle down sort of effect on the end date there with the timeline view, or traditionally thought of as the Gantt chart. That's what Microsoft Office Planner cannot give you, because that is not a project management tool, so it has no concept of scheduling. It doesn't know when tasks that are dependent on one another push out. How does that impact the end date or the critical path?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we mean, folks, when we say that people are using tools that aren't good at project management every single day in your organization, and they're trying to get work done, projectized work done, but they're using the wrong stuff. So like, you can't do that in Planner, and you can't do that in Trello, and you cannot do that in Excel. In Excel. You cannot do that, Mike. And that's why we want to make sure people know about this stuff, because all the work that's going on in your organization needs to be done probably by a certain time, if it's projectized, and we want to try to hit that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I've seen people try to do everything like you say in Excel, trying to build, dependencies, using formulas and macros and stuff. It's like, that's crazy. Just use a tool that already has a scheduling engine built in.
Yeah, right. And then you mentioned this before, but you've got your project, you've got your channel and teams, and then you have your file repository with all of your project artifacts, which can be pre-provisioned in there, and you have the ability to co-author them,
Mm-hmm.
and do that right there in the context of the project itself. You can even attach a document to a task, and co-author that and have a threaded discussion about it. Tag each other in it, and then you can basically be in the same document at the same time. So if you're emailing documents around, and you're expecting your projects to be efficiently completed, you're emailing things around, and what version do you have, and I made my changes and I emailed them back. Well, I never got it. If you're doing this, then you're just basically going to the project channel, and you're going to the document itself, and you're making the edits right there.
Very
So,
cool.
and of course, we've got to have reporting. So we
Of
use
course.
Power BI because we're using the Power Platform within Teams, and Power BI is a great tool that is very flexible and can see into the project and work management data that's going on in your organization. And it can display that within another tab in your project channel. So you can have your portfolio level reporting or your individual project status report. And that data is coming from the project schedule to produce that. So you're not aggregating that data and spending time manually creating that data. It has a regular refresh schedule, so you always know the latest and greatest data in your organization, and it's coming directly from the project plans themselves. And therefore, it's probably a better representation of what's actually going on, because
Yeah.
somebody moved a Kanban card in the project schedule, right? That was the person that was responsible for the task, moved it to the done pile, and it just reflected in the report.
And you alluded to earlier, one of the key challenges is things in disparate and trying to aggregate information for reporting. The holy grail of project management, to a certain extent, is what you just mentioned, is being able to have an automated dashboard where the information is being drawn from where the work's being managed, which is now at a closer proximity to the work that's being done. It's easier to do, and it just shows up. There's no going out and spending all this time chasing the information, pulling it in different areas, putting it into a nice, you just generate the report. Or you can even self-service. You can give access to these reports to management or other stakeholders that need them.
Yeah, yeah, but you know what, Mike? I mean, like, it's something worth mentioning. If you've got a dashboard today that's being manually created for you, and everything's green and it looks great, and you're hitting all your KPIs and your targets, and nobody's having any issues or risks, then it's probably not accurate. And once you start using this, you're probably going to have a lot more yellows and a lot more reds in your organization, but at least you'll know about it.
Right. your outcomes are probably going to be better, or at least more dependable when you're further upstream from getting the work done, to be able to predict, are you on track? Do you need to course correct? What's it going to look like at the end?
So because we're using the Microsoft platform, that means we get to use these great tools in order to even further extend the solution and make it even better. I'm talking about Power BI, Power Automate, and Power Apps, that low code, no code platform that we can use to augment any of the out of the box systems, connect them to other systems, and build specific experiences for your organization based on the way you work and your business processes. It's called Power Platform. You've probably heard of it already. And what we're doing at Innovative E is we're taking basically what you've seen so far in those series of screenshots is an out of the box representation of using Project for the Web within Teams. We invite you to do that. We invite you to get started that way, but we've made it even better. Let us tell you a little bit about that. So we've built an app called Teams for PM, aptly named. We did a lot of the heavy lifting, and so you don't have to. So in the Power Platform, we've built this app using Power Apps and Power Automate, and we extend Teams for project management capabilities. We provide a centralized management of project data regardless of complexity. And that's because we're able to take data from Project Online, if you're using that today, and we can pull that into Teams. And we can also help you leverage Project for the Web. But the data from both of those tools is going into a common data repository called the Dataverse. And that's actually in your tenant already. You already have the Dataverse if you have M365 or O365. And what this is doing is basically taking that data from those two different project management tools and putting them together in one space.
Yeah, so what the Power Platform gives you, and we're able to leverage. Actually, Project for the Web is built on the Power Platform as well. By the way, it's one of the first modern workloads that Microsoft built on the Power Platform. But it takes this concept that Microsoft now has of kind of data as a service, which is what we were talking about with the Dataverse, and then there's all these connectors and everything. Just mention a couple of them. There's over 300 of them and counting. It's growing all the time, available. So it really becomes, the extensibility is at that data layer. Not to get too technical, but it's super exciting for the future of where all of this is going. We're just getting into the foundational elements with what we've done with Teams for PM.
Right. And I think it's worth mentioning that, these two names sound very alike. Project Online is Microsoft's offer that they've had available since 2013, which is the cloud-based project server product. And it's available as an extension of your Office 365 licensure and tenant. And what that is, it's really enterprise level project and portfolio management capabilities with use of the Microsoft Project Desktop tool to directly connect that desktop project plan to Project Online and make that centrally available. The thing about Project Online is that it's based on SharePoint, and so it's not in the Teams sort of spirit of collaboration. It was great when collaborating in SharePoint was the best thing around. But now that there's Teams, it's kind of I don't want to say previous generation, Mike, but it sort of is, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, they took the concept of Project for the project server and they kind of put it into the web, and it's great, and it's got a lot of capabilities, but it's more that endpoint project portfolio management kind of packaged solution.
Right.
And there's still a lot of use for it. We still have a lot of customers doing it. A lot of customers who don't have anything, there's capabilities they want to go with that. But over time, I think you'll see that Project for the Web is going to, and the things that partners like us are developing will supplant that and then give even much more robust capabilities all up.
Right. So what the idea here is that if that's what you're already using, or you need those robust capabilities of an enterprise project portfolio management system, go ahead and use Project Online. But we're going to take that experience and we're going to pull that entirely into Teams. So it gives folks the ability to kind of a roadmap to say, okay, I'm using Project Online, but I want to be more collaborative. Great. Or I need to use Project Online because I have really advanced projects. I have projects that are, thousands of lines long, or I need to use that desktop capability, and I need a more robust system. So I want to use Project Online, but I still want that Teams collaboration experience. So what we're doing here is we're pulling that data from Project Online and the simple project management that we just showed you from Project for the Web collectively into the Dataverse with Teams for PM in our app. And that means that once it's consolidated in that one Dataverse, that we can report on it with Power BI, as you see on the left, and we can visualize all of this, including the experience of the project management and the scheduling itself, the risk and issue management and creation across all work, regardless of project complexity within Teams. And you see
Right.
there that one of those tabs I colored yellow, and it has that charts and the graphs on it. That's just meant to give you a representation that that's where you get to the Power BI reports too. So just a little kind of cartoonish sort of drawing, back of the napkin, if you will, of how this works. And yeah, what do you think?
I love the concept, and I love the fact that you see between Project Online and Project for the Web that the arrows have both sides, so the data can go back and forth, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and what that means is that you could have information coming from Project for the Web that ends up in Project Online, or you could have information that's coming from Teams or being aggregated into your Teams, that purple box,
Hmm.
and is going back to Project for the Web or Project or both.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it makes a very interesting. It's more of a we can't come up with a better term right now. What we're using is application collaboration rather
Hmm.
than integration, because the integration, all that work is being handled at the data layer, and Microsoft's
Hmm.
handling those APIs and everything else. So it's really more of an application collaboration
Yeah.
approach.
And our vision is to pull even more tools than these two kind of um, flavors of Microsoft Project into the system as well, so that we can pull additional tools as needed, into the Dataverse, and then really let your folks use what they want, and but still get the results that you're looking for in reporting. And you might be saying to yourself, okay, this sounds pretty cool, but I can already pull my third party project and work management solution into Teams. It has a little app, or it has a left rail app, or it has like a tab. And Microsoft did that. Yeah, they made it real easy for you to pull in a lot of those other things to Teams. But where's your data?
Hmm.
Your
Your data
data's
is still
not
wherever that is. Yep.
wherever that is, right? And if you're have different departments using different data, I know if you're in one of those departments, you probably don't care what another department's using, but somebody in the organization, is worried about about how dispersed the data is for your company. Is it in unsecure locations? Is it vulnerable? But not only that, how do you ever put that together into a meaningful way to understand what people in an organization are working on if everybody's using different tools?
Absolutely, and that's how, we collectively as professionals have gotten into the situation we've gotten into now, where we're chasing all that disparate data from legacy systems. Is every time somebody needs something different, they go buy or build another point solution. So they're all out
Yeah.
there, and so what we're trying to say here is stop that craziness. There's a way to pull this all together into a central system, and
Hmm.
that's extensible, modifiable as well, and it's more future proof.
So Teams for PM, here's what it does. So we can we provide a governance and an automation to Teams channel creation for new projects. You might be out there trying to use Teams for project management and saying, I have to go through all this setup where I have to create my channel, I have to create my tabs, and then I have to create like whatever I'm going to use for my project, scheduling in there, and then tell
Everybody
people where it is.
everybody does it differently. So it's not
Yeah,
consistent, right?
project managers are kind of like, artists. They're like
Hmm.
they want to do it their way, and want to try different things, and that's great. But your team members are probably spanning projects, and they're confused about, well, Bob does it one way and Susie does it another way. So where do I go to find this file? Or, you know, I I I'm not sure what Teams channel to go to, and it's all quite confusing. So what we do is we organize and govern that initiation. So you fill out a form, and you can put that form through a workflow, if you want to collect different data in different places. That's just using your Power Automate to do that workflow. And when you get to a certain point, we're gonna in that workflow, that intake, we're gonna create the project channel, and we're gonna instantiate all the tabs that collect all of the data, because we need to do that uniformly in order to collect the data in a meaningful way. We're going to allow you to categorize your projects with different custom data fields. We often refer to that as metadata here in the industry. What kind of project is it? Why are you doing it? Who's the stakeholder? Who's the sponsor? What is the start date? What's the end date? How much is it going to cost? And then this is kind of an example of increasing the proximity between the work that's happening and the data that represents it. So we're starting to create scenarios and experiences where the work that you're doing is actually instantly creating or representing the data that needs to be captured. And that's with your risk and issue logging. So imagine, you're in a chat and you identify a risk. Instead of going and finding where that risk log is, or, the worst thing would be like you hold on to the information because you don't know what to do with it. You're like, oh no, this could go wrong. You either hold on to that information, or you go start a complete a conversation about that information, and blow it up to a level that it's very disruptive. One of those two things could happen, right? But what we want to do is we want to capture that risk. And you can do that by right-clicking on the chat and just saying log risk, filling out a few data fields about it. What is it? What's the matter? What could happen? What's the probability? What's the impact? So that it can get correctly logged and triaged and dealt with and discussed. And if it's not a big deal, then we can all move on. If it's a big deal, then at least we talked about it and we can come up with a response strategy to it.
And to your previous slide, that issue or risk now gets channeled to the proper application. So if it was a project online,
Right.
or project for the web, issue or risk, because you can select which project you need to put it to, it puts it in that proper location for future
Sure.
use.
So you logged the risk from the chat. It went into the risk log for that project. It also went into the central teams for PM administration, so it can be managed centrally by the project management office or somebody that has that access. And it also went back to Project Online or your others, where it would normally get logged. So very, very helpful stuff. So you get a single dashboard of all project work in the organization. And regardless of complexity, meaning I've got my simple projects in Project for the Web, and I've got my more complex projects in Project Online. And because the data is centralized, it lays the groundwork for the promise of using things like artificial intelligence in project management. This kind of full circle to the conversation we had earlier about a lot of that stuff in your organization that used to be kind of the work that people do is already automated. We're going to be looking at automating project management actions and activities in the future, because that's something maybe the computer could do, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. And automating a lot of the functionality, and also doing things more like, and we were talking about, first you got to get data visualized so that you can make decisions on it faster, and it's got to come out of a consistent, reliable data set. But what if you can apply AI to it, and it can do things like predictive analysis and say, all right, here's different options or different potential paths you could take based on this thing that you're running into, and the computer, the machines can actually give you suggestions of what possible paths might be the most successful. So that's really powerful stuff in the future.
Yeah. And we always talk about lessons learned and being able to capture that data as organizational data. You start thinking about things like, how could lessons learned, be the intelligence that's leveraged by the system to prevent things like from happening in the future that went wrong.
Right.
So I want to show you Teams for project management, and I'm going to shift gears here to my browser. And so we're going to do a quick demo of the Teams for project management application. First, I'm going to show you the ability to look at the Teams for project management app centrally within Teams. And here we are. I'm in a browser right now, but this could just as easily be in your desktop Teams experience. I just do that because I have to have multiple personas when I'm logged in as my demo user. Um, of course, I have the ability to navigate here to my different teams and my different channels underneath those teams. I have a channel here for PMO, which is like my hierarchy, my high level information about all project work that's going on in the organization. You don't have to call it PMO. You can just call it, projects or whatever you want to call it. But basically, all of my projects across the company are here, regardless of if they're being managed in Project Online or Project for the Web. And I can basically group them in different ways. What I can also do is I can edit inline, and I can change things at a glance within this central screen. So if I have information on projects that kind of span tools, I can centrally edit that. I
That's
have
very cool.
yeah, because you could never do that before. Even in Project Online, for those of you that are using Project Online or Project Server, you know that you cannot edit metadata centrally. You have to go into the respective projects and do that. There were these kind of third-party tools that were available for a while that let you do it. So there's probably maybe a customization that you're using. It was a very common ask. We can do it. We can get it done now with the Teams for Project Management app. So I know that there's at least one customer that we have that uses it just for that.
Hmm.
So risk management. Here are all the risks that are logged across my project portfolio. And again, inline editing, and the ability to say, okay, maybe the probability for that isn't as high as we thought, or the impact. I can go ahead and make that change. And then that's going to filter back to the project list itself in real time.
Yeah, and that's huge. We've had customers, this has been an ask for years for customers. They'll say, can I see all of my risk or all of my issues in one place? And we're like, yeah, we can give it to you in a Power BI or some kind of report, depending on your reporting tool. And then the very next question, every single time, is, can I edit it there? No, you cannot.
No.
That you mean I've got to go open up that particular project and go to that list and go
Yeah.
update it? Yes, that's what you have to do. Now this is a game changer. This allows it all to be edited
Right.
in one place.
Yep. And then I've got the ability to log those from a chat, don't forget, Mike. So that's kind of, it's very
That's
participatory
how,
in
yeah,
where they're coming from. Yeah.
yeah.
So here we have a new request form. Now this is a form. This is not going to be like the coolest thing you've seen all day, but we can put your fields that you want to capture for your intake process into this form and then put it through a workflow. And that the result of that is that the data goes into the central app.
Right.
Also the result of that is that a channel was created, and I'm not going to sit here and type and fill out a new request form and wait for a channel to get created. So I did it earlier. It's called Awesome Project Creation. A channel got created for my project based on the form that I submitted in the workflow and the approval. And that channel was automatically provisioned, and it automatically had the tabs that I need on there. And it was able to determine if I should be using a project for the web project or a project online project, and then provision that schedule right there so it's ready to go. And then I can build it out from there.
Yeah, right from a template.
So here's project for the web. And just to give you a couple of just demonstrate a very brief demonstration, because this isn't really specifically a project for the web demonstration, but some of you might never have seen it before. What I can do is I can include a task above another one. So I'm inserting tasks, I'm creating tasks, I'm just typing. So I've got my my requirements document creation task, and then I can go ahead and indent that and make that a subtask of something else. And you can go many levels down into the subtasks, but I can give it a start date. I can say I want this to start on the 25th, and then that summary task is displaying that. So I'll give a bunch of these different, start dates, and I'll say, I'll just kind of complete my little plan here. And so what it's doing is it's showing that those are already late. And it's very easy to understand and kind of see what's going on there. If I want to mark something as complete, there's a couple of different ways to do that. First of all, I can just kind of check a box and it marks it as complete. And notice that it did update the subtask, the summary task as well. Or I can just type in here, make it 100. And then, I can also have different columns. I can have an assign to column if I want to add, assign it to a person, and we can have that send them a notification in Teams. And then we can have dependencies. So these tasks are all kind of dependent on one another. If I want to make this task dependent on, task 2 kickoff meeting, I can just start typing in it and it kind of fills it in for me. Notice it doesn't say predecessor. It says depends on, because this is all supposed to be simpler terminology meant for the everyday person that's on your team, not necessarily having taken a course in project management. I can also add different columns. So the only ones I haven't added are bucket, which is a categorization of a task, dependence after. Some of us refer to that as successors. Effort completed, effort remaining, and outline number. That's like a WBS number.
Work breakdown structure.
Now, in order to look at this as a Kanban board, all I have to do is switch to board view. And it defaults to bucket, but I can change that to progress. And that's actually a Kanban board. And I can take that and move things from in progress to completed just that easily. And if you were actually in this project schedule looking at it from the other angle, you would see that happen.
Real time.
I have a real time. So I have a timeline, and this is like a Gantt chart. I can zoom in and out of it, and I can create relationships between tasks. I can move tasks in and out and create those relationships by just dragging and dropping my mouse. Notice how that kicked it out. Now I have a predecessor, successor, or finish to start relationship on these two tasks. And as this task gets extended, my critical path just pushed out. And so that's important, people, because if you're using Planner or Excel or anything to do that, the project was not going to push out for you. You're going to have to figure that out. So that's project for the web, and then I also have my reports and things like that within here, and it's going to show your Power BI, and your Power BI report is going to be available right within the tab as well. So this is my awesome project creation status report, which is periodically updated, and it's got my tasks in there, and it's got my risks, my issues, my percent complete, lessons learned, how many tasks, how many hours, what's the cost, and it actually displays my issues up here, my risk exposure. And so what this is an automated status report. It's taking information from the metadata and also information from the project schedule, and it's displaying them in an automated report. This particular one, because it's my demo data, doesn't really look too pretty. But imagine if your projects were in here and you didn't have to create this report yourself. And then we talk about the risk log. Well, here we go. So here's our list of risks on this project, and here's our list of issues on this project. And you can see that it's easy to log a risk, view a risk, take a look at what somebody else had submitted, modify that if you have access to do so. And in the general channel, the post for this, I can start a new conversation, and I can say, this looks like a risk. And then I can say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and submit that. And I have this ellipse here, and I can go to more actions, and I can say create risk. And that's going to bring up this little screen where I just have to complete a few other fields, and then it's going to go right into that list of risks. So that's pretty cool.
Very cool. Making that proximity shorter.
Yep. It's all about the proximity. Now, if I were to be on my project schedule and I wanted to start a conversation about a task with somebody, with one of my team members, this is why we want to do this in Teams, guys, because, that's not an email. That's a this is going to be late, right? And then you can tag somebody in that, and you can ask them what the status is, and that thread of discussion stays there alongside the schedule. So it's contextual. If I have files, I can go in my file folder, my file menu, and I have a file that I'm creating. I can go ahead and edit that. I can do it in Word or in the app. So I can edit right in Word or in Teams. So I can edit it here right in Teams. And I'm editing a project file, and then somebody else can come in and edit that file, and we're doing it together. I didn't leave. I'm not emailing this around. I didn't leave to go to somewhere else to find it. I know exactly where it is because it's in the file folder for the project. And I can start a conversation about this with others. And I can say, hey, can you edit that part? Or did you take a look at this yet? And that's going to show up in their activity feed up here in Teams.
So no context switching. You didn't have to go to multiple other applications, even within the Microsoft ecosystem. You just stayed within Teams to do all that.
Right. So that's
worked for the project. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little preview on Teams for project management. Teams for PM, we call it. It's our app within Project, or that uses Project and uses Teams together collaboratively to create these rich experiences and keep you in context. And so let us know if you are interested or you'd want to talk more about it. You can email me at bryan.quick, Brian Quick, at innovative-e.com, or just visit our website and go to our Teams for PM area and then fill out a quick form for giving us your information, and we'll be happy to do a private demo for you or just have a discussion. So that is Teams for PM. So any other questions, let us know.
Very good. All right. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everybody. And I hope we see you again sometime soon. Take care.
Yeah, have a great day. Thanks for joining us.